How is it possible to struggle with faith, with God himself even, and still remain faithful? Well, really quickly, here are 4 things that we can learn from the book of Job on how to keep our faith in difficult times. Number 1 is remember that God is in charge. He made it all. We ruin it a lot, but he made it all. So we're to follow and we're to serve him. And think about this, you wouldn't apply for a job. Maybe you would, but you shouldn't. Go get the job and then just walk in like you own the place. First day at work, I'm the boss. It's not going to work out very good, right? What if you were signing up for the armed forces? Would you go up to the recruiter and say, hey, I'm going to need you to station me in Hawaii, otherwise it's just not going to work out. That's not going to go very well, right? But I think that's what we do with God sometimes. God, I'll follow you and I'll worship you if. 2, remember he isn't afraid of your questions. I love sharing this. I think it's hard for us to wrap our heads around this, but go to him with everything. Absolutely everything. Look at the Psalms. Look at Jesus in the garden. Look at how the prayer went. Look at the laments and the complaints and the doubts in many biblical accounts. God gives his people a lot of room for growth, a lot of grace. If you have questions, take them directly to him. Don't be afraid. He's got really big shoulders. The worst thing you could do is not take it to him. The Bible seems to teach that even when we're frustrated with him, he wants to sit with us and listen. That he loves us enough to tolerate us, just like he did with Job. Also remember that he understands our limited perspective. That really helps to remember that for us. He knows that we're not that smart, right? Just maybe be prepared, because it looks like he does answer sometimes in a big storm, and it might be scary. Who knows? 3, realize he may provide answers one day. Be willing to wait. But he might not answer till we get home. It's a true, it's a growth thing. It's a maturity thing. Waiting on God is so hard because we hurt right now. He knows it. It's really frustrating to wait on God, who created time and space, and because we're bound to time and space, we have a different sense of time. I had a friend in college who lost his backpack. It had all of his books and papers in it, some of which were due to hand in very soon, and he was really stressed. And he walked around all day long that day just saying, man, I'm angry with God. I'm angry with God. I was like, man, chill out. What in the world? And he was kind of joking, but he was a little bit of truth to it. He's like, because God knows where my backpack is, and he won't tell me. In my struggles with grumpy church people, I felt sure that he had a plan. I really did. And I held on to that belief. But I just wish he would have let me in on it. You know? Turns out I just needed to wait. Number 4, remember he will make all things right in the end. Continue to trust him. My favorite answers to the book of Job, admittedly in my limited understanding, but my favorite ones come from Genesis and Revelation. Genesis shares the story of a perfect world becoming a fallen world, a broken world, a beautiful creation that becomes fully corrupted and devastated by sin and sickness and death. We weren't meant to go through that in the beginning. We're not equipped to take care of ourselves through those things. That's why we have to lean into God. We live in a fallen world. It's going to have trauma and terror and suffering. We have an enemy that hates us. Oh, but in the book of Revelation, Jesus shares a vision to John of a brand new beginning where the enemy is destroyed and everything is made right. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. I also saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. Then I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling is with humanity, and he will live with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them, and he will be their God, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Grief, crying, and pain will be no more, because the previous things have passed away." And then the one seated on the throne said, "Look, I am making everything new." Everything is a big word. Right, because these words are faithful and true. And then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and I will freely give to the thirsty the spring of the water of life. As the deer longs for flowing streams, so I long for you, God. I thirst for God, the living God." Remember the rope. God is so good. He sees way past the blue tape. He's preparing eternity for you and me, so we follow him. We go to him with all of our questions, no matter how difficult they are, and we wait for him and we trust him.